ace från högerluckan.
Så menar du?
3.5 years ago I made my first video right here on this course. Let's challenge myself 3.5 years later and see who wins.
Hole 1, par 4, with OB on the left side halfway down the fairway. 3.5 years ago I just threw a 12-speed driver full power because I couldn't even reach the OB. But now I have to turn it over and get it to the right side to keep away from the OB and make the approach as easy as possible. This drive was 400 feet and the one before was not even 300 feet. 13-speed distance driver, full power, not even close to the basket. Nowadays just a standstill hyzer approach with a putter, landing it into the hill, pin high, not getting rollaways, getting an easy birdie, and here a tap-in par. Hole 2, par 4, dogleg left, trying to cut the corner to make the approach as easy as possible. Before, just a mid-range, trying to get it to the gap, not even trying to push into the fairway, landing a bit short, having to go for a forehand flex, bad kick, birdie out of play. But now just making the fairway as big as possible, throwing a overstable mid-range into the gap, letting it fade, just get it in the circle and trust my putt. Here I'm having to go through the back door to get it to the basket. Here we can see a very big difference in the putt. Look at how fast and twitchy this putt is, really uncontrolled, and look at how big, slow and controlled the new putt is. Here you can see them side by side, just look at how much more controlled and efficient the new putt looks. Hole 3, throwing a batty forehand, strategically just throwing it a little bit short, just to make sure that it lands flat and doesn't roll. I don't even think I had a plan here, I just threw a backhand and hoped for the best, I guess. Of course it doesn't work out and I hit a tree, having to lay up for a par. But here, an easy birdie. Almost missing the tap-in, by the way. Hole 4, forehand with the batty again, just making the fairway as big as possible. And again, trusting my putt, don't have to park it. Before I had to go with a flippy mid-range just to get it down there. I don't even know what gap I was going for, but it got through. First straddle putt of the day, so a bit high, but again, slow, smooth, controlled. Here we can see again, really fast and twitchy motion. No control at all. Hole 5, going with a overstable putter. Threw it a bit too low though, and the headwind just pushed it down, so landing a bit short. And before I had to go with a 12-speed distance driver just to get it to the basket. The result is better though, but sometimes you're just lucky. Nice putt here for the birdie though. So, same result. Hole 6, par 4, dogleg left. Pushing the corner and trying to get it to push as far left as possible. Here, throwing it as far as I can and just trying to get around the corner. Ending up so short that I'm having to go with a fairway to try to get it up to the basket, slipping a bit and ending up short. Nowadays, so close that I can actually run it with a touchy forehand approach. This was a bit too low though. With a good putt, I still managed to get the birdie, but this is a lot easier. Hole 7, 300 foot, very open hyzer, going with a 8-speed fairway, trying to get it wide and dump it down at the basket, maybe giving it a bit of a run. But here in the video I actually say that this is a very long shot, so I have to put some power behind the 13-speed distance driver, and I don't even make it pin high. Just for fun, here you can see me throw a 1-speed putter, a spore, getting pushed down a bit by the wind, but still inside C1. Quite a big difference from having to throw 13 speed. Hole 8 is an island hole. I'm going with a batty on a forehand, trying to get it to swing from left to right to make the island as big as possible, landing it safe. Here for some reason throwing a understable mid-range, trying to get it to helicopter down and land in the island. Somehow works out, same result, but the risk level on these two shots are completely different. Hole 9 is a 330 foot uphill par 3. Had a bit of a headwind here, so I thought it was gonna flip more, but unfortunately I'm gonna take my first par. Had to correct it though, so threw a bit of a flippier disc, and I almost got the ace. Before, a birdie wasn't even in play, so this is just a layup, going for a easy par. Flipped it over a bit too much though, so having to scramble for the par. Really sketchy shot, but managing to get it into the circle. Easier approach from over here, laying up with the birdie on a forehand. Hole 10, playing kind of like an island hole, OB long and short of the basket, throwing the birdie on a steep hyzer, just trying to get it to sit by the basket. Before, threw a putter just straight on. I'm just lucky that it stays in bounds. Hole 11, very uphill again, going with a slightly overstable 8 speed on a spike hyzer, trying to get it to come in from right to left to miss the trees in front of the basket. Before, I had to go pretty direct to the basket, very low, slight flex with a 13 speed, and I still end up short. And just for fun to see the difference, here you can see me throw a 3-speed putter too far on a hyzer. Still getting the birdie on both rounds though. Hole 12, very uphill, throwing a very overstable distance driver out in the biggest gap, just trying to get a putt for the birdie. And before, I had to go pretty direct, try to get through the trees, basically relying on luck. Bonus shot with an alternative line.
Här vi tar en ace från höger luckan.
Så menar du?
Det var nice run.
A bit of a sloppy putt.
Oof.
Correcting on the next one though. And this is just bad in so many ways. Hole 13, very uphill. Just throwing a straight mid-range, keeping away from the right side, sloping away very fast over there. Here I'm having to go with a full flex with a fairway driver, still ending up short and bringing the right side into play. Having to make a pretty long putt to save the birdie, or just tapping it in. Hole 14 was a bit more left to right wind than I expected, so the disc got pushed earlier than I thought, hitting the tree, ending up very short. Correcting on the second one though, and parking it. I don't know why, but here I thought the backhand was the best option. Throwing it way too wide, not turning it over enough. Really bad shot. Trying to give it a bit of a bid, but not getting the air because I hit the branch. And here, just a complete air ball. What was that? 2 tap-in pars. Hole 15, very downhill, throwing the birdie on a forehand, making the fairway as big as possible and fading into the hillside so it doesn't roll. Here I think I tried to throw it just straight, but early released it and turned it over. Somehow works out, getting the birdie. Hole 16, a bit downhill, using the birdie on a forehand again, giving it an ace run, flashing chains just short. But here going with a 12-speed distance driver with a run-up, trying to crash it down at the basket. Hole 17, going for a slight turnover with a putter, turning it over a bit too much though, getting a cut roll. Going for a full flex shot with a 12-speed distance driver once again, threw it a bit too high, crashing into some trees, still landing inside C1. Really nice slow control putt here. And here, I don't even know. Over the branch, drops it in, somehow makes it. Hole 18, throwing a overstable mid-range in the right gap, getting a bit too much nose up and hitting a branch, landing short. Before, I had to do a full flex with a fairway driver, just getting over the bush and missing the trees, landing inside C1 for a chance at the birdie. Trying to throw it in from deep with a forehand, just too short. Sneaking it over the rim for a birdie, and here a tap-in par. So, what did we learn from this exactly? I mean, I only gained 3 strokes in 3.5 years. But I think looking at the scoreboard is the wrong place to look. I think we need some more side-by-side comparisons. Let's start off by looking at the drive on hole 9. First, let's look at the throws and then I'll make some pointers. Looks completely different, right? First of all, let's look at the position I'm in my furthest reach back. First thing we can see right here is the extension of the arm. On the left side you can see that my elbow is almost 90 degrees, but nowadays my elbow is fully locked out and I have a fully extended arm. And I know I'm still reaching a little bit behind my body and not out from it. This is something I'm working on still, but it's still a lot better than what it was 3.5 years ago. Because if you look at the position of my feet right here, you can see a major difference. On the left side you can see that my body is positioned to throw way more to the right. But on the right side you can see that my body is actually moving towards where I want the disc to go. And I won't go into too much detail, but here you can see a major difference as well in the last moment before releasing the disc. On the right side you can see that I have a pretty athletic stance, but on the left side it looks like I'm doing a weird dance move. On the right side, I'm leaning more into the shot, my left arm is closer to the body, and I have a much lower release point. Let's take a quick look at the feet when I plant as well. On the left side you can see when I plant my foot and I actually throw, I don't really twist it. I just land on my toe and then I spin on my toe. But then here on the right side, I'm actually twisting on my heel. One more time, side by side. And we already looked at the putt, but let's take a look one last time. First thing we see here is that on the left I have 2 hands on disc, but on the right side I'm keeping my left hand down to the side, just because that's one less thing that could go wrong. One thing that's pretty hard to see here, but nowadays I keep my left knee more out to the left to open up for the disc to come between the legs, but before I bring the disc almost to my left knee instead. And the last thing to look at is the position of my arm after I release the disc. On the left side you can see that I want to move it towards the left, but nowadays I keep it straight towards the target at all times. And like I was talking about before, I'm making a bigger, slower and more controlled motion nowadays. But let's be honest, we all know that I'm playing better because I'm using my own merch that you can get on pug.se. Click the link right here. Both designs available in so many variations. And of course because I can keep my discs clean with the disc golf towel that I got from bouncebackdiscgolf.com. Use the code KKGG for 15% off. On a real note though, I think the reason is I make better decisions. When I can, I always go for the biggest gap and I always make the fairway as big as possible. And of course it makes it easier that I can throw further and that I can trust my putt, but the decision making is completely different. I see the game in a different way, and I think that is what allows me to play more consistent. But I think that's about it for this time. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video, remember to like, subscribe and comment down below what you want to see next, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!